Hello, everyone, and welcome to Monday Mindshift with Sean Michael and the lovely Suniti Biswas. I'm Sean Michael, the Inner Potential Activator, here to unlock your greatness, your power that you have inside. Whether you're an entrepreneur, leader, founder, coach, or just someone who's ready to level up, I'm here to help. And Suniti, tell us about you.
And I am a communication trainer who helps people become leaders. Leaders who can get people to give their blood, sweat, and tears and not just do a 9 to 5 and go home and forget all about work. So, if you're looking to become a charming leader who can actually get results out of his employees, maybe we should get talking.
Yes. Communication is so key. But our topic today is stress.
Such
How
a
do
familiar.
we, yeah, definitely, right? All of us can relate. I don't think anybody would say they can't relate to the idea of stress. But our goal is to talk more about stress and how to deal with it. So let me start with this quote. It's not stress that's killing you. It's pretending you're fine when you're not. What do you think of that quote, Suniti?
I think I'll have to agree with it because stress is there. Stress is always there. And to be very fair, sometimes stress can be acute, as in response to a lion, for example, or chronic when it's response to a stressful job or something that you have had for years. So stress can come from work, finances, relationships, and a variety of other places, even from inside the body, like illnesses or inflammation. And these events initiate the activation of the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal. And the greater stress we have, the greater activation of the HPA axis. So what happens is that if you are denying yourself that no, I'm not stressed, I'm fine, everything's great, it's all rose-colored glasses, you are denying yourself the chance to actually heal and actually fix the problem that's there. So it's very important, I feel, that you don't pretend that there is no stress because every single person is dealing with stress somehow or the other.
Right.
A little bit less, a little bit more, but pretending helps nobody and nothing.
Yeah. A lot of the time to in the world for many decades in my life, stress is bad, you got to avoid stress. The truth is, yes, there is a lot of toxic stress and denying it doesn't help. It as you said, stress is a necessary part of our life. Yeah, we don't have to worry about a saber-toothed tiger attacking us as we walk across the street. So things are different, but it is necessary for growth. And I would even break down there are two types of stress. There's what's called eustress. This is the positive stress. This is the one that's meant to push us further, to help us get out of a dangerous situation. Um, like you're crossing the street and some fool is driving crazy and stress activates and you jump out of the way so that you don't get run over.
I know the scenario very well because it happened with me last week, and that's how I ended up with sprained foot. But at the same time, stress gets a very bad rap. I mean, it's it's not fair. Especially think about how much talk is going on about the stress hormone, cortisol. Everybody saying, "Oh, that's bad. You need to lower the levels. It's so horrible." But people don't understand that every hormone has a purpose. And cortisol gives you the energy to fight with all the inflammation and illnesses because first thing stress does, it suddenly gives us a burst of energy to deal with things. It's about channelizing it in such a way that it effectively utilized.
Right.
But I think stress just is blamed for everything instead of people looking at the positive ways to utilize that.
Right. And the high performers, the great athletes, the very successful people, they're not stress free. They're just stress savvy because stress isn't the enemy, it's mismanaged stress that damages us, that wrecks us. And to go to the next level, stress, like you said, you kind of covered on this. Oh, let me ask this question for the audience. What is a common stress trigger for you, and how do you usually respond? Because that's the key, right, Suniti? It's not avoiding stress, it's what do we do with it? Okay, now I have stress. What am I going to do?
Exactly. And the response part is so much important because first step, like we talked about a little bit before, a lot of people pretend that no, everything's fine. That's bad. You have to acknowledge the reality that yes, something's wrong. So what can I do to fix it? Or what can I do in response to manage it, if not fix?
Right. And give it
So yes,
give it a constructive
analyze.
outlet,
Yes, absolutely.
right? As one of my mentors said, pain is just part of life. Suffering is a choice.
Yes,
Stressing about
absolutely.
it is our
And at
choice. Like that chronic toxic stress, it's our choice. It's a natural reaction to a danger situation. It's the fight, flight, freeze response. It's natural. As you said, it gives you a boost of strength. I've heard amazing stories of a mother lifting a car to save her child. Like she doesn't normally
yes,
go around lifting cars. It's stress, it's
no, but
cortisol,
that's
adrenaline,
the burst of
etc.
energy. Yes, and that's the burst of energy. But people won't notice that the positive side of it. For example, there was a story about a famous singer who, even after thousands of performances, used to still get very stressed and nervous before his performances. So his wife actually gave this interview that even before the performance, he would be backstage throwing up constantly because he was so stressed. But then he would come up on the stage and he would be giving the flawless performance that everybody came for.
Yes,
So different people have different coping mechanisms, but the main thing is that you cannot deny stress is an important part of life.
yes. And I like what Dr. Vishwanath put there.
Yes, correctly pronounced.
Management of stress is a challenge, but it is manageable.
Absolutely.
And to add to that, stress, if we train for it, it's like a muscle. We can build stress tolerance by implementing smaller challenges intentionally, like purposely challenge ourselves. Great athletes do this, CEOs do it. We call it adaptive stress conditioning because honestly, we've been sold a lie that comfort equals safety. But the truth is, stagnation is its own unique type of stress.
Yeah, and you know what? There's so many small tricks and hacks to be able to deal with stress, but nobody actually acts upon it. I mean, the easiest one ever there is sleep. But do we actually utilize it? No, we are scrolling away before we close our eyes, and we are scrolling away the moment we open our eyes.
Right. Well, and I learned in my journey HALT, HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. These are not things to avoid, but these are warnings like, okay, something needs to change, right? The first one is easy. You're hungry, eat. You're thirsty, drink. Angry, what's going on? There's something going on. Anger is, there's a reason for it. Lonely, what's going on? Why are you not connecting with other people? Because lonely doesn't mean alone, right?
Yeah,
It means
that's the truth behind it.
disconnected. You can be in a room full of people and feel lonely.
Yeah.
There was this, there
And
was,
anger is also an umbrella term.
yes, there was actually something released in 1908 called the Yerkes
Okay.
Dodson Law. It found that performance increases with physiological or mental arousal, aka stress, up to a certain point. In other words, with the right amount of pressure, it can sharpen our focus and our decision making. But there's a sweet spot, right? Not too little, not too much. There's that perfect spot,
Yeah. Optimal.
optimal stress. But as I was saying, we can practice it. We can challenge ourselves with less stressful so that we can condition ourselves to handle the lower levels of stress. And it also helps us prevent the effects of higher stress situations. Just like, you know, other things, we develop a tolerance for it so we can manage it more. Usually the tolerance is in a negative way, right? It's alcohol and drugs. But here's a good tolerance, like build your stress tolerance, admit you have stress, express it, deal with it, get an outlet. Suni, what are some of the ways you use to deal with stress?
So honestly, I think I have talked to you about this, that I have very severe anxiety and I've been dealing with it for years. So one of the anxiety techniques that we all know, a classic, is grounding. And when I get very stressed, grounding really helps me because I've seen this help whenever I get overwhelmed with stress or worries or I'm tense. Grounding helps me focus in the now. And similarly, another one is box breathing. These two have been invaluable whenever it comes to centering myself when I understand that I'm getting overwhelmed. And it's very, very easy to do as well. You just follow the steps, and if you have like a wallet or something where you can keep the steps over there, you don't even have to remember it. You can just look at it, do it, and in a couple of minutes, you'll feel so much more calm.
Well, and box breathing is extremely powerful. There are also some great apps on, at least on iPhone. I haven't used an Android in many years, but I actually had um, an app where you just kind of, you don't even have to count. You just watch the thing expand, and that's your in breath, and it hold, and then when to exhale and hold. So you just watch it and you just follow it. It's really simple. And I know
Yeah.
anybody who has like a lot of the fitness trackers or smartwatches, it's built in. Like, and you can actually
Yeah.
set reminders to practice it. But what is box breathing if the audience doesn't know?
I think I'll let you explain it. Let me see what you know about it because I know you researched it. So I'll tell you what I do later. But first, I want to know the clinical version from you.
The way I know it is a 4 count inhale, best through your nose, because there's actually science that says by breathing in through our nose and breathing out through our mouth, it It helps regulate the nervous system. But it's a 4 count inhale, hold for 4, a 4 count exhale, hold for 4, and then repeat the cycle. That's why we call it a box, because it's 4 by 4 by 4 by 4. Yeah.
Foresight.
For even.
So yeah, absolutely. And I like the idea of it that because it's very arbitrary, but if you think about it, it goes in a square or a rectangle, not a cycle, not a circle. So what happens is that you feel that there is a structure you're following, and in your focus shifts that okay, I have to do this right. I have to wait for 4 seconds. I have to do that perfectly. And your focus has immediately shifted from the problem that was overwhelming you. And that's where the magic happens. It's not complicated, but this simple thing, it flips the game.
Yes, very, very true. Now, on the so box breathing is a very powerful one. It takes, as you said, it takes a little more focus to do it, um, which is good because it diverts yourself, your attention away from that stressful thing. And I've thrown a question up there. I'd love to hear the audience's answers on that question. But there's a technique I learned. Like, if you're feeling really like anxiety or high stress and like you need, like, you can't even focus to do a 4 by 4 by 4 by 4, right? Like, maybe you're just so, in the limbic system where you can't think straight. You're totally in that fight, flight, freeze mode. A simple technique is actually inside the ear, just kind of rub right there. Like, if you ever put a Q-tip in there and you hit that spot and you're like, oh, that feels so good, that's the spot.
You're not supposed
Well, no, we're not
doctors would
talking
be
in the
frowning
ear.
at
We're
it because
talking right there on that little piece of cartilage.
yeah, Q-tips are not supposed to go in there.
But you just kind of put your finger and just kind of rub it with some pressure and watch what happens. It will help your nervous system calm down. The other thing I taught my son is 2 rapid nasal inhales and a long mouth exhale. So it's a quick reset to kind of bring you down. So now you can get into the box breathing. You have the focus. Like, if you're way up here and you need to come down, these are a couple quick techniques I've used to kind of bring myself down where I can actually think.
Yes, and something I have actually discovered myself, and I've shared it with friends who told me that it worked out for them, is that when they got very, very stressed about something or they were very worried and overwhelmed and they're not able to figure things out, I told them find the coldest beverage at your home, or if you have ice cream, great, gobble it down. You know what happens, right? Brain freeze.
Right.
It's a way of actually forcing the brain to a halt, forcibly pausing it. And somehow, while eating, since eating is a comfort kind of an activity, it also calms us down. Now, this does not work every time because we don't have, not everybody is an ice creamaholic like me, but it works. If you don't have something cold, something very hot would also help because you would be like, and your brain is like, oh my god, this is hot. I cannot focus on what the problem was.
Right. Or like you said,
Yeah,
because
the focus.
the that stress response is this heightened, there's all these neurochemicals pumping through your body. You're on alert, your heart's moving quicker, everything. Sometimes you can feel jittery. And then the other calm mode is what we call rest and digest. Right? So like you said, if you do that shock, and that kind of resets you. And then by eating the food, your body kind of goes in, oh, okay, we're safe. Because that's what's happening is your brain, your body has gone into, we're in danger, protect, keep
Yes,
this being alive.
absolutely. And it's so very psychologically sound if you think about it, because cortisol, the stress hormone, in the beginning gives you a huge boost of adrenaline and it gives you so much energy. That's why we get jittery. So if you are shifting the focus and giving your body something else to focus on, something else to do, immediately the body gets a sense of direction that I should be focusing on this.
Right. And then
So
go
yeah,
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
so it's very important that we channelize it properly. We cannot ignore it and think that it will go away. We cannot bask in it and feel, oh, that's great, I'm stressed. Because you cannot enjoy it. It's not an enjoying feeling. But what you can do is shift the focus and make it useful.
Yes. And that's a perfect segue because I had some points about some shifts. It starts in our beliefs and our thoughts. If we change our thinking that it's pressure to its preparation, stress moments can often be a sign that you're stepping into something bigger. So I can ask myself before I'm in the middle of the stress, what is the pressure preparing me for?
Yeah,
The second shift is releasing control. A lot of times we're stressing because we can't control it. Well, here's the truth, you can't. There's a lot of things in life we cannot control, but learning to let go and control what we can, which is focus and presence. I like to use take a breath, take a pause, ask myself, what's important right now? Again, it's another way to shift from that focus of what's stressing me to reset and kind of get control of everything.
absolutely. And
And the
you're right about this, the particular thing that, I'll talk about a small incident which you already are aware of, but I'll let you finish first. I interrupted, I should not have, but I was really, really feeling like this topic is so perfect because of what I faced just this week.
funny how life does that for us, huh?
Yes,
Because I had a situation a couple weeks ago where one of my podcast episodes that I kind of lost it a little bit. And then I was actually like, I don't know if I should publish this. And my wife's like, publish it. She's like, publish it. And it was like you said, it was exactly what I needed to hear, even though I wrote, I was doing the podcasting.
yeah,
So I just have one more shift. So the third shift is from reacting to responding. Reaction is it's automatic, right? It happens. Our body senses danger, our brain senses danger, and it activates the system to do what it's supposed to do. But taking a chance to respond or preparing, I remember my boot camp days, joining the Navy. And I remember being in the middle of it and go like, what was I thinking? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is crazy. Why did I do this? But I was in. But the whole time, 8 weeks of training to develop the response ahead. It's kind of like back to the stress conditioning, right? They put us in situations where in battle, in a real military event, you don't have time to stop and go, oh, well, what should I do? No, you need to act. So we were actually reprogramming the reaction so that we could respond appropriately. In fact, I remember One of the days they we got to put our gas mask on, and they put us in a room and they let loose tear gas. And
Oh
they
my
warned
God.
us. They warned us before. They said, you're going to go in there, and then we're going to make you take your mask off and say this sentence. And I remember, like, just before I pulled the mask off, I took the biggest, deepest breath I could, because I'm like, I'm not breathing this stuff if I don't have to, because I know what it's going to do. It's tear gas, it's meant to irritate. So I went, and ran out. Some of my neighbors, they went, they took a breath, which then gets in their throat, causes them to cough, which then does what? Oh, you suck more of it in. So it was about, it's about conditioning ourselves so that we're ready to handle the situation more effectively. Now, your point, the one you were dying to share.
Yes, and it's not a point, it's the story of my minor accident that happened. You know, when the accident happened, I was very stressed because I was going to deliver a training session and I was worried about, okay, how will I manage? What are the people going to think? What do they want to want? And I was distracted. I will not deny it. I was distracted. So suddenly, when I noticed that a bike is coming 5 feet towards me, I tried to jump away. And that's when I twisted my foot and fell on the middle of the road. And think about it, what stress does to us is that it makes us focus on unimportant things. My first worry is my laptop all right? Did it break? Because then I won't be able to deliver this training. Then I'm like, is my phone okay? And later, when I was recollecting this to my mother after the training session was over, she was like, are you insane? You have to live. Then comes your laptop and your phone. So the question here is the stress might be think because I was already stressed about the session, my focus stayed on the things related to the session. Whereas I should have been focusing on the fact that I was in an accident, I am hurt and bleeding. I should get some first aid. Nope. My brain is like, we have a session to deliver. And that's what happens, because stress makes us focus on things which are out of our control, unimportant, and absolutely unnecessary at that point of time. So the best question we
Absolutely.
can ask ourselves at that point is, what can I actually do? And this comes up whenever I'm in sessions about change, like talking about adapting to change, resilience, etc. It's always the same thing. What can you actually change? What can you actually do about the situation? Because not everything is in your control. If you try to control everything, you're going to definitely fail. So why
Definitely.
set yourself up for failure?
Right. Well, and let me put this back up here. Which one is it? So put this question. There was this question: what would happen if you stopped trying to eliminate stress, and focus on upgrading your response? And then this quote: stress is not the enemy, it's mismanaged stress that wrecks us. Back
Absolutely.
to the mindset. Dr. Kelly McGonigal, apologize, doctor, if I mispronounced that, massacred it. She's from Stanford, and she found that people who believed stress was helpful had lower mortality rates than those who believed it was harmful, even if they had higher stress exposure. Right? So, what if stress was not something we tried to escape, but rather something to actually use to help us, to push us, to stretch us.
Yes. Stress is not the enemy.
No, it's not. It's mismanaged stress, and it's this. Here's a fact: most burnout comes not from stress, not even from doing too much. It's from saying yes to the wrong things. It's resentful overcommitment, right?
That's a
People,
classic problem in the corporate.
yes. People aren't tired, they're disconnected from what really matters. And I've heard a statistic that Gen Z is it's throwing the corporate world off, like, because they had Gen X, and Gen X is nearing retirement age. Gen Millennials, they're like, okay, yeah, we're still trying to figure these ones out. But Gen Z is like shifting everything, and they will leave a job if they don't see the purpose,
Yes.
right? They're gone. If they don't, if it doesn't, like, what am I here for? What is it that we're doing? If they don't see that, they're gone. They're out.
Yeah, because Gen Z tends to want something, a bigger cause, to contribute, to see some results happening. They're not willing to do the 9 to 5 and go home just for the sake of earning. They want to be doing something for some bigger cause. And that's a very positive thing, I think, because, you know, there has to be a reason behind why you are doing what you're doing. Like, it comes back to the golden circle. But at the same time, this also makes it very hard for them to stick to a job. And they're always bouncing around from one to the other because they're not clear themselves about what they want to do. They don't have their why figured out.
Right. Well, and if the leadership that they're working with is not leading in a in a purposeful, they're clear on the why, they're clear, like, what are we trying to achieve, why are we doing it, what's the point? Yeah, I don't think that's changed a lot. It's just being highlighted because Gen Z is more apt to just say, I'm out, right? Because we've gotten away. I mean, I remember my dad got a watch from his company because he'd been there X number of years. How many people can say they worked at the same company for more than 10 years? Right?
Ah,
It's getting less and less common, right? The employee loyalty, the employer loyalty is not what it was 50 years ago, 40
absolutely
years
not.
ago.
And nowadays, it's sort of becoming like a fact that if you want to progress, you have to change companies. It's becoming a fact slowly because neither the company is investing that much into having loyalty from employees, neither are the employees very bothered about my company. They are bothered about my progress. So it has become like a very selfish kind of a situation, selfish world, but at the same time, we don't have anybody else to blame but ourselves. We cultivated
Exactly.
this.
Right. Exactly. So I threw a new question. If stress is a signal, what is it trying to tell you now? Right? Because it's telling you you're overcommitting. You don't have, you're not
The bandwidth.
aligned. You're not aligned with a purpose, a reason. I think of people that have a strong purpose, they will put in a lot of hours and deal with a lot of stress because they know that that's kind of the engine that gets it running, right? They know, like, I started a business, it's going to take some work, it's going to take a lot of effort, but if I build it right, it will get up and it will run with a lot less stress and a lot less issue. Because as we said, stress is not, you can't avoid it,
Absolutely. It's
right? We can't,
unavoidable, but it's manageable.
right? It's manageable. There are tools, there are techniques, to deal with it. Again, like we said, it's how you think about it. If you think about it as, yeah, it's helping me grow, it's helping me be stronger, be better at decision making, then you've got the right mindset. So I want to bust a myth, mainly because of a male perspective. Stillness does not equal weakness or a lack of productivity. To be a high performer, the people who we see who just go and go and go, and that they seem to be stress free, and everything, they schedule recovery with the same dedication that they schedule a meeting. So they put on their calendar downtime, right? And they honor that commitment the same as if they booked a client meeting.
Guilty.
Say it again. I didn't catch it.
I'm guilty of doing that. I actually have time schedules as take a walk because I'm
Yeah.
always sitting here and always working, or I'm always working. Basically, a workaholic. So I have to tell myself that okay, take a walk. And it's
Right.
not like I'm taking a walk on the street. I'm just walking around the house, or I
Right.
have some
Like
time to
get up, change the scenery,
yeah,
take
drink some
your
water.
eyes off the screen. Yeah.
Maybe go to the balcony and admire the few plants your mother has put up. But sometimes you need to put a pause in everything you're doing. The importance of pauses is so underestimated that it's one of my favorite topics and it's so underutilized. People don't pause. Pausing is so necessary.
Right. Well, I heard it said this way, Suniti. When your computer is acting up, what do? We power it
Oh well,
down, right?
no, in India we slap it.
But, like I worked in IT for many, many years. And when a computer is acting up, you power it off, you plug it and unplug it. Your phone, my wife's like, my phone's doing this. I'm like, reboot it. We're the same, right? Sometimes we need a reboot. We need to unplug and reboot
Absolutely.
and
But
have some
I
quiet
can
time,
agree
like
here.
no music, no computer screen, no screens. When I go out for my morning walk, I used to just kind of put my headphones on and put my jams on and just walk. But recently, the first segment of my walk, I'm just hearing the birds. I'm doing my affirmations. My phone is I'm just walking, no phone in my hand, no earphones in my ears. I'm just paying attention to what's around me, listening to the sounds of the early morning because it's like
You're
5
in the
a.m.
office.
So
And it's
but
beautiful
it
being in the moment.
yeah. And it's powerful too, because then we can be more ready to deal with what comes, right? And actually one of my affirmations is Michael Sean Vestal, am strong in my self concept, being and feeling whole, able to bounce back stronger from whatever comes.
That's a strong one.
And I repeat that every morning, first thing in the morning, within 5 to 10 minutes of waking up and just before I go to sleep.
Lovely.
And I feel totally different just from doing those affirmations and putting in the time to have that quiet moment. Just me and what's around me. Practicing the stillness, as we said. And I would say strategic stillness is a power move rather than it's not a pause from growth or productivity. It's a setup to have more growth and more productivity.
And with that, I'll ask you something, Sean. Have you ever heard of power naps?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
I think I do,
Have you
but
ever
continue.
have you ever felt that when you are very, very stressed and you are overwhelmed with what's happening, you feel like, I wish I could hit a pause in this moment. I know quite a few top level management people, CEOs, CXOs, and what they do, they have this habit of taking a power nap. It's only a couple of minutes, but they have trained their body to be able to actually go to sleep and then get back up. And by the time they are actually up, the stress levels have already reduced.
Exactly.
And it's
And
another
on
way of
top,
practicing this.
yeah, it's quiet, stillness, letting go of all this stuff for a few minutes and kind of just, like you said, grounding, centering, kind of getting in our own bubble. And as we were talking about putting in those breaks, putting in those moments of quiet and stillness, an effective, if you don't know, I mean, most people know this, Pomodoro timer,
Uh, we've got that inbuilt in our computers and phones.
right? It's a simple process, a set time. I think it's 25/5 or 30/10, but you don't have to be so rigid. You can give yourself 40 minutes of work time and 15 minutes of break time. Whatever works for you, right? The key thing is a block of focused work time and then a programmed break. Like you're going to get up, you're going to walk away, go make a tea, go look out the window and stare at the beautiful scenery, something. Break it. Hello, Margaret. Margaret. Yes, we got a good turnout today. Lots of doc. We got Leslie and Ileana popped in, and Dr. Vishwanath. I have to go back and look. That's such a big name. It's not hard. I just have to like. It's got lots of parts. It was like learning your
Yes,
name, Suniti. It took me a
yes,
minute.
I remember. It took you.
But
But
yeah, so
yes, you know something that I cannot actually agree with Dr. Vishwanath's statement over here, that if nobody knows about your stress, that means you're a good manager of stress, because that's what we talked about in the beginning, right?
right.
How do I know that you're not pretending? I mean, I'll give a classic example. Up until a certain age, I thought my dad was always so cool and calm. Now that I'm older, I can actually see when the stress is bubbling under. Now he talks to me, now he opens up, but all those years, was he under no stress? That's not possible. But unfortunately, men and especially
Yeah.
fathers have this tendency to keep everything away from their family because they don't want to worry them.
Well, as a husband, as a man, a husband, and a father, it's what we've been taught to believe. We've been programmed and conditioned because we saw
Exactly.
it
And
demonstrated.
it's not
We
bad.
saw it
You are
demonstrated
suffering
by
alone.
our fathers, our grandfathers. If you look at the media, what does the media always portray? I just saw this. I was watching a limited series, and it's an Old West situation. And the daughter is on her horse. They're at the trading post, and this guy's like oogling her with his eyes. And she's like, no. He's like, oh, we're just out here up and open. This is open country. We can look at what we want, how we want. And she's like, I'm bothered. So he gets all smarty with her, and she pulls a pistol out. And mom yells for dad. Her mom sees what's happening, that she's got this gun and she's ready to shoot this guy. And now he's got his gun. And who comes? Dad comes running over. Give me that pistol. What's going on here? Like, he's supposed to be just handle it, right? That's just his job. He's the man. He's the cowboy. He's, old West dude,
The
the
protector.
protector, And later he says, don't point that thing unless you intend to use it. She goes, I did. I intended to use it. I was going to use it. But it's everywhere. As a male, I'm very conscientious of this because I'm raising a son, and I don't want him to get all this false conditioning that men don't cry, and men just suck it up and man up. I'm like, it's so wrong.
That's the wrong thing. And that just makes the person suffer more and suffer inside by all by themselves when they actually can have the support of their family and their loved ones.
Right. And that's
And the things that we girls actually benefited with because we are actively encouraged to show emotions. I mean, if nothing else, we can go and confide to our moms. But can a guy go and confide to his dad? Whoops, no.
not typically.
I remember suggesting one of my male friends to do that, and they were like, "Are you insane? I'll go and talk to my dad."
They'd
And the
rather
look he
face a
gave me
tiger on the
was like,
savannah than go
yeah, exactly.
by hand with no
So,
weapons. Like I'd rather go battle a bear in the forest with just my bare hands than go talk to my dad about emotion.
but not talk about my feelings with my dad, especially if I am a guy.
Well, and it's a double whammy because the male brain processes emotion differently than female brain, right? Women are emotional by nature. They are
Yes,
emotionally connected. It's why, you know, if a woman says, I have this feeling you shouldn't do that, you should listen because women are typically very in touch with their intuition, that inner voice. Men are like, shut up. I'm not talking to you. And I strongly believe that it's a large contributor to, and I threw this question up because it's perfect timing, right? Where are you over functioning just to keep the peace or look strong? And here's the reality, this is not just men, it's masculine energy. So if a woman, a female, is operating strongly in her masculine energy, she'll do the same thing. her
yes,
her
absolutely.
inner voice or her mind will go, what are you doing? Like, are you nuts? Like that. And she'll have a lot of conflict and stress because her body will be going, no, no, no. That's not how we work.
And this question actually makes you think that am I am I doing this? Am I doing this for the right reasons? So if anybody is listening right now to the podcast or maybe it's a recording you're looking at, I really want you to take a moment and think that where are you over functioning and why are you over functioning? What's the reason behind it? Is the reason really necessary?
Yes. And
I'm glad you asked this question, Sean. This is a very good
right,
question.
where are you over functioning? Where are you trying to keep the face so that you can look competent and strong and keep peace, because it's not helping anyone in reality. It's hurting more than it's helping. It's hurting us when we try to put on that face and pretend that everything's like you said at the beginning, we got our rose colored glasses on, right? That's what I call toxic positivity.
There's a downside to everything. Even positivity can have a downside, right? We don't think it has one, but it does
Everything
have
does.
one.
I've long followed this. Everything in moderation, right? Water. I drink a lot of water every day. Water is critical, right? You got to get the right amount of water. But can you get too much water? Absolutely. You can.
Yes,
Anything can be overdone and cause problems, whether it's things we intake, the things we think, we can overdo it and it causes more harm than good. It's kind of like we said earlier,
that's
right?
correct.
The right amount of stress increases our performance. Too little, there's no effect. Too much, we have problems.
Bad.
So we talked about box breathing as a tool to release it, and stress conditioning. I have two more to add, tools to use to help process through the stress, to get it out. The one is to say simply, like, I let this go. It's that simple. I let it go. Or as
Okay.
Elsa said, let it go, let it go. Sometimes we just need to let go, right? Ask
But
ourselves.
that's so hard. So hard. We make other people's problems our own problems. How can we let go of our own?
I just had this conversation with someone who found their whole life they've taken everybody else's problems and they've tried to do this to keep peace. They put all these bags on their shoulders that weren't theirs to carry. I just did a podcast. Empathy is good, but just like positivity, you got to ask why.
Yeah. I remember I used to do that as well. And then one of my friends asked me, "Why? Are you their mom?"
Even
And
if she's
that was
even if
brutal.
you're their mom, moms aren't supposed to carry all the burdens of their our son. Like, I've learned to, like, just he falls and bangs his knees and stuff and gets into situations that, as a parent, you're like, no, I want to protect him from that. No, he needs to learn. You touch a hot stove, it hurts.
That's how you know not to touch it again.
Right. The other way is, we kind of touched on this, is shifting our focus, right? One way we can say is, what's within my control? What's not?
Absolutely.
Right? Ask yourself, can I actually change this? If not, let it go, let it go. It's not yours to carry anymore.
We're probably getting a new musical with Sean featuring in that.
Well, music is one of my releases, whether it's listening to it or singing it. I Music has been part of my whole life. Like, when I was in elementary school, we had reading and math and English class and singing. Schools today don't have that, but we had it.
So it's kind of compulsory here actually. Like you have to be in some form of music related thing. Like either you play an instrument or you're into vocals. Something has to be there. Like school I went to, it was compulsory. Like you have to be part of some club or the other,
Yes.
and that's great because music is a different kind of magic, in the words of Albus Dumbledore.
Right. Well, and they are there have been a lot of there has been a lot of research studies that show music doesn't just make us feel nice. We don't just enjoy it. It actually does things at cellular level. If you've ever heard of the experiment, they had plants and they played one classical music daily, and the other one they played like thrash, that stuff that's like, and the plant like withered. The one that got the classical music was thriving. It was beautiful and full. Now, I know we're at the top of the hour, but I wanted to pop this up here. If anybody wants to join us and share their voice, we'd love to hear from you. No pressure, though.
Absolutely. And at the same time, you can use music with stress management as well. Put on some soothing violin or
Or,
some beautiful piano music, and it's so beautiful that you will lose yourself in it. And it calms you down.
right. Or just, maybe you don't like violins. What is the music that you find relaxing and soothing? Right? It might be very traditional music. Um,
You just have to find one, but music works very effectively.
right. And if you really want to see something interesting with music, I'm going to pop it up here. Just got to edit. There's something called cymatics. What they did was they took music and they created a platform where they could see how different types of music modified the way things responded.
That's fascinating. I'll definitely check this one out.
Yes. And there's another, like I said, whatever you find soothing. I like solfeggio music. Um, it's actually connected with like the monastic chants. When you have monks who hum or sing and they have certain tones, there it's a certain frequency that some of it actually heals the DNA, they've found. So it's very powerful. It can reset our nervous system, it can help us relax. And I think of the other one, they posted it on YouTube. It's called Weightless by Marconi Union. I'm going to put it in the comments right now.
Interesting. I have got this particular song that I always play when I'm very stressed or I'm having difficulty in sleeping. It's uh, it's called Nocturne by Secret Garden. I don't know if you've heard it
Well,
or
I know
not, but
Nocturne
it's
is like, it sounds like a classical, one of the classical composers.
no, Nocturne is the name of the song. So it's beautiful because it's a violin, and I am a huge violin enthusiast. I had fallen in love with the sound of violins long back, and this song utilizes instruments of different kinds. It's mostly instrumental with very few words actually spoken. So it's very soothing as well, and I would encourage everybody to find some song or the other that you can play when you're feeling low or stressed or angry, and it balances you out. because music is magical. So why not utilize it?
Yes. Because it's easy, you know, we all have access to it, right? YouTube, Spotify, various sources of,
What else do you
or my 7-year-old will often walk around just singing his songs that he likes to sing. Sometimes it's Bad Romance by Lady Gaga, but or
need? A little more.
or the one he really likes, it's I'm not even sure, like I think it's a Vietnamese group,
Okay.
and it's all over social media, short videos. It's like dun 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 dun.
And that goes on in repeat at your house.
Yeah, although he makes his own words sometimes. Like he'll get the rhythm of a song and,
That's
and create his own lyrics.
that's the benefit of not knowing the language. You know, you can sing anything you want. It's just about having the tune correct.
All right. Well, if nobody wants to join us, Suniti, thanks again for another wonderful discussion. Get well soon with that foot. I can't imagine how frustrating that is, not being mobile like you're used to.
I can't walk,
Yes, and I
so
know
that's
from
very
your
frustrating.
profile, like a lot of your photos are up on your feet. So I can only imagine how you're feeling right now, being grounded.
This is forced grounding. This plane wants to go.
This is like bad weather, No, everybody, all the planes stay down. No, the planes want to fly. Thank you for everyone.
And thank you everybody for joining us. And it was lovely seeing all this conversation in the chats. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to respond, but I was looking at the comments and I'm really grateful that you all came and you were participating in the
Yes,
discussion.
very, very
Hopefully, we'll
appreciated.
see you again.
So, in closing, I invite you to post a comment of what what was an insight or a big takeaway you got from the discussion today, or your answers to the questions that we posed through the talk, or you know
Let's not give too many yours. Your takeaway. We want to know one takeaway you took
so
from
my
here
take.
so that we know that
Yes,
we did a good job.
and I have a special offer. If this conversation spoke to something you're feeling or facing right now, I want to offer a space to connect. Over the next week, I'm gifting a few of calls. There's no pressure, just kind of let's talk about what's blocking your clarity, your calm, or your confidence that you want in your life, your job, your leadership. This isn't a pitch, it's not an agenda, it's just real connection and support. So feel free to DM me or drop a drop some kind of emoji and put stress. Emoji plus stress, and
Yep,
we can have a chat and see how I might be able to support you.
great. That's a great idea, and that's very kind of you as well to offer a safe space for people to talk to you. And I think we are going over time, so we'll not take up too much
Yes.
of everybody's time.
Thanks again, all.
Everybody have a great week ahead. And if you're like me and your week has already begun, you're having to go for your sleep. So have a good night's sleep as well.
Yes. Good day, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. Have an awesome week. Thanks again for popping in, sharing your thoughts, your comments, your ear. Much appreciated. Suniti, as always, you're much appreciated. You make this so much easier.
appreciate it as well.
You make this so much easier.
Well,
All right. And it starts my week on a great foot. Sorry.
wow.
I didn't know what else to say. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh. All right. Bye, everybody. Bye
Uh,
bye. Catch you next week. Also, if you're watching the replay, I'd love it if you drop the tag replay so I know who's watching the replay. Thanks again.